fans of Let's Talk Chicago Bears. I'm back. Okay, yesterday's game was officially the last game of the season. Yeah, and we all know what happened, right? But you know what? We're going to talk about it. Going in, I didn't think we had a chance, but I got to tell you what. The Bears were in that game until about the last 7 minutes of that game. And we're going to go over why I believe the Bears lost that game. I'm going to do a little stats. And in my opinion, the Bears had a chance to, if not win the game, not have the score 35-16. And I'm going to go back and throw that on Nagy again. And you're going to see why. The thing is, and this is what really annoyed the shit out of me when I read this, the Bears beat the Packers in every important category of that game yesterday. It was unbelievable. We did exactly, the Bears did exactly, the defense more than the offense, but the offense did too, what they needed to. I mean, okay, we'll start with time of possession first. When you're playing a good team like that, and if you can keep them off the field and you have the time of possession won by a lot, you should win that game. The Bears had it for 35 minutes and 29 seconds. Green Bay had it for 24 minutes and 31 seconds. That means Rodgers was sitting on, and the Bears were offensively doing long drives. The problem was they only scored one touchdown and 3 field goals. You can't be the Packers doing that. So that's the one that just really annoyed me. I think that had to be the best time of possession the Bears had all season. And that's exactly what you got to do. So how come you didn't win the game? I don't know, but we're going to talk about it. The Bears only had one penalty for 16 yards. You know how I feel about that. So a good category. Green Bay had 4. We don't care. The total numbers of plays the Bears had was 74 plays they ran. Green Bay only ran 44. Again, what? The total yards was 356 yards for the Bears, and Green Bay had a total of 316. Again, Bears. The Bears was 5 out of 6 on 4th down conversions, and we know about the last one, and we're going to talk about that one when it was under 7 minutes left in the game, about 7 minutes left in the game, between 7 and 8 minutes left in the game, and they went on 4th and 1, okay, and that's the only one they didn't make. Green Bay never went for it on 4th down. It just didn't come up. Mitchell was 33 of 42 with 252 yards. Unfortunately, had 2 interceptions, but in my opinion, yeah, the Green Bay scored, but at that point, then the game was over, so it really didn't make a whole lot of difference. I wasn't overly upset. I wasn't happy about it, but in my opinion, that did not cost the Bears. It did and it didn't, if you know what I mean. And Rodgers, of course, was 19 for 24, 237 yards. I didn't want to even look up how many touchdowns he had. What did he have, 4 or 5? And he went in with 44. Oh, my God. I hate him, but he's a damn good quarterback. The Bears rushed the ball. They had 31 attempts, and they had a total of 108 yards. Green Bay only had 19 attempts with 79 yards. We kept them under 100 yards, and they were in the top 10 in rushing going into this game. They were averaging, I believe, 136 yards. Hicks was back. That's who was not in the last game, and you could see the huge difference on the run when Hicks is back in the game. David Montgomery, he ran for 69 yards. He had 1 touchdown, the only one. Mitchell had 22 yards. Patterson had 18. Mr. Mooney, number 11, our wide receiver, actually led the day with 93 receiving yards. And Allen Robinson had 37. And where the hell was Allen Robinson in the first half of that game? I didn't get it. I don't remember seeing him out there. My son and I were talking. I'm like, where's Robinson? So we were trying to read if, was he hurt and we missed it? I know he was on the injured reserve all last week because of his hamstring. So maybe they had eliminated him, but I don't know. What the fuck? With your best receiver and he's got 37 yards. No. And Mac had the only sack we had. We did get around Rogers several times, but they just couldn't complete it, which was really sad. Um, you could really tell when Nagy was calling the plays because they were stupid ass plays, and we're going to go into that. But I want to talk about one of the reasons that what really turned the game around for both teams was when Roquan Smith, our great third year linebacker, he's 58, he left the game with an injury in the first half, and that changed everything for us and Green Bay because then Green Bay said, oh, then instead of Roquan being in there, he's the number one linebacker and he calls the plays. Then Danny Trevathan had to be the number one linebacker out there and call the plays. And let's face it, he's old and he's not fast. You know, he's had a better second half this season than he had first, but he's not Roquan Smith, and you could see. So right away, that one touchdown, that guy blew by Danny, and it was a touchdown. So as soon as Smith went down, you know, Green Bay was like, oh, man, we're going to change our philosophy, and we're going to start throwing to the guy who's covering us, and that was Danny. And two guys got picked on in that game. It was Danny Trevathan, and the other one was our cornerback, JJ. He's number 33, and he has been out the last 2 days. He's a great cornerback, and this shows you how good he's been all year because he's been great. His backup, Duke Shelley, he is number 20. He's only been with the Bears 2 years. He was drafted 2 years ago, and he's 23 years old, and he was bad. Rodgers picked on him all game. You remember seeing number 20 chasing after their wide receivers? So these two being out, Roquan Smith, our linebacker, and JJ, our quarterback, made all of the difference. Now, JJ never played at all. Roquan did start the game. Now, I believe that maybe had Roquan not gone down, we wouldn't have had their tight end scoring because I know Smith could have stopped him. And then they would have had to pick on Duke Shelley, number 20, and that might have helped us more because then maybe we could have had more people helping him out. But with Roquan down, it just wasn't going to happen. And then Rodgers, you know, he had a field day. He has a locking his lips or whatever you want to say on the sideline. The defense really played a pretty good game when you think about it because going into the half, it was 21-16. And then the Bears did not let Green Bay score again until late in the fourth quarter. So the defense really did their job, except for, and I'm really pissed about this, and you know I talked about this before, when the Bears defense has a chance to get interceptions, they got to catch those damn balls. And they haven't done it all year. And you know I've mentioned it many times. I think, I'm not kidding, in at least every game this season, one of the Bears defenders had a chance with an interception. Yesterday made me sick to my stomach. They had 3 chances to get interceptions, and they dropped all 3. And Eddie Jackson's was the worst. It was the first one and the worst one. Eddie Jackson is our cornerback, safety, and he's number 39, and his was in the breadbasket. I mean, it was right there. I could have caught that damn pass, Eddie. And just think, when you get an interception, that can change the whole dynamic of the game. Had we gotten that interception, offense goes back out, scores still 21-16. And the way the Bears were moving the ball, I was confident they would have went down the field. Now, the fact that they could only kick field goals at that point, but they kicked the field goal, then they're up. Let's just say they get the ball when Eddie Jackson dropped it, and they didn't get a score, then it would have been 19-21. Or say they get a touchdown, then they're in the lead. And those 2 other drops, one would have been number 50. It would have been a really good interception, but I've seen it happen. And that guy, when he dropped that ball, if he had caught it, he would have gone in for a touchdown because there was nobody behind him. And then the third one, just another. So, you know, weeks and weeks, about 6, 7 weeks ago, I was talking about Chuck firing Nagy and put Chuck Pagano as our head coach. Not anymore, because I'm really mad at him. Because for two things, I think he should have. They should have rushed um, Rogers more, and I kind of understand why, because you were missing Roquan Smith and you were missing one of your second best cornerback, and JJ. So then becomes one on one, and they were afraid. I get that, but they were getting close to Rogers several times, and I think had they kept it up consistently, they would have get to him. And when you knock him down, you get in his head, he gets pissed. And he started to make mistakes because he threw 3 balls he shouldn't have thrown. But we can't hang on to him. So, and I do believe that Chuck must not be preaching turnovers. You remember when Lovie Smith was our quarterback? That guy, that's all he ever talked about was turnovers. And back when Lovie Smith was our quarterback, the Bears as an organization set records with turnovers. And do you remember Charles Tillman, number 33, our great a cornerback? Yeah, he could thank Lovie for that, because he was setting records because he was catching them all. But no, not this defense. And I gotta say that's more on the coach, because he's not practicing it enough in practice, and he's not preaching it. So I'm blaming the coach more than the players on that. And it was just unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable. So just think about it, how that could have changed the game if we could have gotten 1 out of the 3. Because sometimes like that can change the whole dynamic of the game. Because we were in it. With 8 minutes left in the game, it was 16-21. Okay, so then the Bears are driving down, and I could really several times my son and I, when the Bears were having some plays, and there'd be a play called, and we both look at each other and go, "That was a Nagy call." You can tell him. He has got to stop calling them. Period. Bill Lazor, or whatever his name is, the Laser guy, he's our offensive coordinator. He needs to be calling them 100% of the time, because Montgomery was getting chunks, and he should have been running the ball, number 1, to eat up more time and possession, and number 2, to keep Green Bay off the field. So then we're down there. What was it around? It was between the 20 and 25 yard. It was between the 30 and 25 yard line, and then it was 4th and 1. And he should have. This is when you know that it was a Nagy call. They go back, they pass, Mitchell passes, and he throws it over. Because if you were paying attention, number 12, Robinson was there, and right behind him was our tight end, Graham, number 80. You should never have 2 receivers / tight ends exactly in the same area. That's a screwed up play. And Nagy said last night on his press show that was not on Mitchell. So he did what he was supposed to, but the players, either Robinson or Graham, screwed it up. But it started with Nagy's play calling, because he should have given it to our running back, number 32, Montgomery, who has just been really getting better every week. Or do another quarterback sneak. They had finally started doing quarterback sneaks this week, which they never do. And I mean, I don't get it. I see these old farts, Ben Roethlisberger, you see Tom Brady, you see Phillip Rivers, still doing quarterback sneaks. But not the Bears. But they did them yesterday, and I know they got 2 first downs because of it. So had we got that first down, we were going to be starting to take more time off the clock. Or if he didn't want to go for it on 4th and 1, he could have kicked a field goal, and the score would have been 19-21. Then we're within a field goal range. It boosts up your defense. They're pumped up. They're like, we're in this game. And anything could have happened. I don't believe Mitchell would have thrown that next interception and when they got the ball back, because things were going to be different. And so that was all on Nagy again. You know what? I know these getting into the playoffs have saved his job. I'm pissed off, because I started to think I could live with Pace coming back, but not Nagy. And I still don't think Nagy should come back, because I would say 70% was him losing that game, and 30% was our offense not being able to score in the red zones. Had they scored every time they were in the red zone, we would have won that game. There's just no doubt about it. Look at the stats. We did everything right to win that game. The Bears cannot finish a game, and that's why, folks, they are 8-8. And that's why Nagy has got to go, because it starts with the coaching. I'm getting a little worked up. I mean, when Eddie Jackson dropped that interception, I went shit, ape crazy. My son and his fiance are like, "Oh my God, calm down, mom," because it was just like, I knew that drop reminded me of a couple years ago when we played the Packers in the first game of the season, and we were winning 24-0, and all of a sudden they caught up, and we were winning, and the Packers were going down in the last 2 minutes, and Fuller, our cornerback, our really good cornerback, number 23, had an interception right here that I could have caught, and he dropped. And had he caught that, the game would have been over, and the Bears would have won that game. If you all remember, they ended up kicking a field goal, and Green Bay won. So it brought back those memories, and I thought, oh my God, here we go again. You catch the freaking interception, Bears are in the game. I'm not saying they would have won it, but they would have certainly had a chance. But that was 2020, right? And it was, but you know what? And the other thing is, I gotta say, we finished the season, and I heard many announcers yesterday, and all the games I were watching all said the same thing. They never thought the NFL was going to finish the season, and they did. Very proud of them. We got there through all this, and has given us all energy and to keep going. Okay. So I'm done bitching about that game. It's over, because today is a brand new day, because the Bears had to get over that loss. I heard him saying last night, Nagy saying, we got to be mad for a couple hours tonight, and then we got to put it behind us, because they're playing next Sunday in the wild card game, and they're playing the New Orleans Saints on Sunday in New Orleans. And the one thing about that is, if you recall, we played New Orleans in November, and we went to overtime, and they won with a field goal. They won 23-26. Now, so that gives me courage. And courage. I'm telling you, when I was in Tennessee, man, you could tell I'm home. You see, I'm back at my stage. I lost a lot of brain cells. There was way too much partying going on there, so I'm encouraged how the Bears played the Saints last time. And Foles was in now. Mitchell's going to be in. But if we don't have Roquan Smith back, our linebacker, and JJ, our cornerback, back, and then Mr. Mooney went down, our receiver, with an ankle injury. So if we can live without Mr. Mooney, I believe, even though I really like him and he's coming on, as I told you he would. He's going to be our number 2 receiver next year, and he might pass Robinson eventually. But without Roquan and JJ, we don't stand a chance. We just don't. I'm sorry. You saw what happened yesterday when Smith went out, and JJ was already out. So, but Breeze, you got to remember, he's old. I believe this is going to be his last year. We all know he's coming back from 11 broken ribs and a punctured lung. How the hell he did that, I don't know. But he's really not playing as well as he was before, because I'm sure he's still hurting. So we have a chance. But I'm going to talk about that on Friday going into that show. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of that. But you know what? The Bears are in the playoffs. I'm not a big fan of one and done. And now we've ruined our draft chances of getting that rookie out of BYU, Wilson, that I like, but we'll see. One other thing I wanted to say was, I was looking at, there's a bunch of firings today. A bunch of coaches lost their job. Gase in the Jets, Doug Marrone in Jacksonville, and the San Diego coach. They were all fired last night and today so far. And then pretty soon, I don't know, it's probably going to happen after the playoffs, is you're going to see a lot of quarterbacks. I predict Carson Wentz is going to go to the Indiana Colts. And I don't know. I'm hoping because I'm hoping maybe that Detroit decides to cut ways with Matthew Stafford. I know he's 32, but he's still got a lot of gas in that tank because I watched him play Minnesota yesterday, and it was a 37-35 score. They did lose to Minnesota. Minnesota might have scored one at the end, so it might have been 44 something. But Matthew was still playing lights out, and it meant nothing. So I believe he was putting his tape out there for all the other teams to see. And quite honestly, I'd take him in a minute because he's seasoned. He knows the NFC well, and we could get him and maybe draft a young rookie and let him learn from him. So that's just my thoughts. But we'll talk about that later. I gotta shut up. So the sucky thing is, even if the Bears, I wanted them to win just to beat Green Bay because I always want, no matter what kind of season is, I want to win the Green Bay. We lost twice again. So we have got to turn that around next year. I want to coach. Do you remember when Lovie Smith first came to the Bears? One of the first things he said in his press conference was, I'm here to win and I'm here to beat the Green Bay Packers. He said that, and guess what? It happened while under Lovie. We were winning again. And then after Lovie, nobody could beat the Packers. So I'm just saying. Okay. As always, love one another. Thank you for watching my show. Let's stick together. I know 2020's gone. Thank God. But 2021, there's still a lot of problems going on. But we got to be positive. Keep the masks on. Take the vaccine if you have the opportunity. Let's get over this bullshit. And get healthy, and make sure get our minds healthy and our bodies healthy in 2021. Okay, I love you viewers. You guys are just the best. I love the comments. I got some great fans out there. I even got a fan from Europe that signed up for my show, and I'm just like loving it. So it's the best. You guys, I love you. Keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby. I can't even talk. Vegas, baby. Boy.